A hostess or stewardess must be a person of charm as well as capability. To qualify on most airlines, she must be healthy, single, and between the ages of 21 and 28. She must be between 5 feet 2 and 5 feet 6 inches in height and of normal weight.
Airlines first hired stewardesses for the comfort of passengers. And in the early days, flight attendants had to be nurses. And they were there to make the trip more comfortable, mostly for men. It was very early on, 1946, when these brave stewardesses formed their first union. And that was the precursor to what AFA is today. Anyone with the heart of a flight attendant can be a flight attendant today because of the work of the Association of Flight Attendants and because flight attendants refuse to be defined in a box of a sex symbol or someone's mother or someone who serves Cokes. The role of the flight attendant is to serve as aviation's first responder. We're charged with the safety, health, and security of the passengers in our care.
Unions in this country are about bringing voice to the workplace and then taking that voice and applying it to the larger public debates in Washington and around the country. If you look at the history of the airline industry, the AFA has been intertwined in that history for many years, if not decades. They took on special interests, big tobacco, and actually, achieved a smoking ban. For years, flight attendants were ignored by our government when it came to their safety and health. And the AFA, joining with others in a coalition, finally got OSHA protections for flight attendants. That was a big deal because for decades, workers were basically being ignored.
When I graduated from college, there were not a lot of opportunities for women. You could be a teacher, you could be a nurse, and you could be a secretary, and that was about it. There was a freedom in being a stewardess that other young women did not have. And that freedom for me really means the ability to not be walled in by expectations. And I think that shows in the accomplishments we made because we had more and more of a strong voice behind us. We became more of a role model for women in the workplace, and knowing that you could stand up to your employer and be treated like the equal you wanted to be treated as.
The Association of Flight Attendants' #1 objective is to unite all flight attendants in the airline industry. And that's not just because it sounds nice, it's because it provides us with bargaining power to negotiate the best possible pay, benefits, working conditions, and retirement security for flight attendants. And it also allows us to have a voice on Capitol Hill where we can advance our profession through regulation or legislation.
Okay, more breaking news. They heard we're coming. The Senate just voted to include the fatigue risk management plan in the bill.
AFA to me is family. It's a family that I never had, of different cultures, different ethnic groups. I love it, and we all support one thing, and that's unity. And I love being a part of AFA.
AFA is community.
AFA is Ohana.
We work together on every of these issues that are meaningful to us as flight attendants.
When flight attendants realize how much power we have together, there's nothing that can stop us.
AFA is power.
The AFA isn't just a union that collectively bargains for its members. The AFA has built up a profession. They, I think, professionalized the workplace, turned them into first responders, gave them the training they needed, pushed back on employer belligerence when it was necessary, got rid of some ridiculous things that we saw many decades ago, including weight limitations on flight attendants. They made it a place where professionals can go to work every day and be treated like professionals. And that, to me, is what a union is supposed to do. It's not just about negotiating good contract, which they do. It's also about making sure you're building up the profession and giving these workers the respect that they deserve on the job.
A friend of mine became a flight attendant. She said, "This isn't what you think it is. This is a real career." I went through 7 weeks of training unpaid and got this apartment with 7 other women and set off on my flying career. And about 4 weeks later, my fellow roommates got their first paycheck. And I was so excited to check my bank account, and I did, and there was nothing in it. So I went into the office and I said, there's something wrong. I didn't get my first paycheck. And they said, well, people get their first paychecks at different times for different reasons, and we're sure you'll get it next time. And I started to get way more excited than someone should on probation. And the tears started to roll. And I had this tap on the shoulder. And I turned around, and there was someone standing in front of me who looked just like me, or at least wearing the same uniform. I'd never seen her before. She was holding her checkbook, and she asked me how to spell my name. She handed me a check for $800, and she said, number one, you go take care of yourself, and number two, you call your union. And I did call our union, and I had my paycheck the very next day. But I always say that I learned everything I needed to know about our union in that moment when that one flight attendant was standing in front of me. And that is that flight attendants are better at taking care of others than almost anyone in the world. And through our union, we can be organized about that care and get the most out of it.
I think about some of the really amazing things that flight attendants have done over the years. Not the least of which were the flight attendants who were on those airplanes on 9/11. I mean, that they had the presence of mind, some of them, to call their companies in the midst of what had to be the most horrible moments of their life. And they gave them information that turned out to be the basis upon which that the government could at least get to the bottom of who was responsible for those horrible tragedies. And I think that was a real turning point in how people viewed the job as well. And I don't know how you could be any more proud of the profession than remembering those people.
Ever since September 11th, 2001, we also serve as aviation's last line of defense. We take that role very seriously when we go to work, and there's not a day that we don't think about what happened on September 11th, 2001. Our goal with the Association of Flight Attendants is to ensure that every single flight attendant carries the same amount of respect from the companies where they work, and that includes the same pay, benefits, working standards, safety standards on the job. And uniting all flight attendants will allow us to push forward on that goal and to ultimately achieve respect for the work that aviation's first responders do.